Hi everyone, this is Deborah here. Welcome to the show. Today, the topic is social responsibility, and I have Tinashe here. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Tinashe Mahupete, Vice President of QLI and also author of Dreamcatcher, A Passion for People Development.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me here.
And I have Bruno. Bruno, do you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, Bruno Bonsa. I'm a volunteer at Emmanuel Hospital and also accountant at Penfed.
Welcome to the show. So in today's world, especially with the African diaspora, when it comes to social responsibility, there are a lot of heated conversations, discussions, and whatnot. What are your insights? What are your perspectives about social responsibility when it comes to businesses and entrepreneurs?
Okay, I think social responsibility is today a very interesting topic that companies, organizations are taking into the decision-making process, and I think it's very important to see that economy is not only the production of goods and services or making profit, but also taking care of our environment and all the things and the people that are around us.
Good. And Tinashe, what are your perspectives when it comes to social responsibility?
I agree with Bruno when it comes to just how businesses should be looking at more than just profits driving decisions, but also what they can do for the society and the people around them. Whether it's them being environmentally sound on decisions that they make, fiscally responsible, following good ethical practices. There's just so many things when it comes to better businesses make better communities.
Okay, so in your introduction, you mentioned that you are the vice president of QLI, and beside that, you wrote a book, The Dreamcatcher. What is it about? How would you relate that to social responsibility?
I think from being socially responsible, for example, for QLI, we are a brain and spinal cord injury rehab facility, and we are dealing with people's lives, trying to make sure that they get back their lives from being shattered, and so not only from the rehab side are we doing things that are ethical, but also when it comes to just looking at who the people that we're working with. We're not just working with that resident, we're working with the families, we're working with our team members, we're working with our community, and also funding streams, so we take Medicaid, for example. Medicaid is a payer source for QLI, one of the payer sources for QLI. And we want to be good stewards of our state funding. We're dealing with tax dollars. And just because they're willing to pay doesn't mean that we should just continue to accept the payment. We need to do things that are responsible and that benefit that resident that comes into our facility, and make sure that we're taking good care of them, but also being good stewards of funding on anybody's funding. It's not just about the bottom line. And sometimes we have some people who have insurance that runs out, and even after insurance has run out, we're not just saying, okay, it's time for you to leave. It's let's help you get to the best place where you can be. And so we are trying to take care of people regardless of if they have the funding or not.
Interesting. So Bruno, what do you do from 9 to 5? Very interesting question. I'm going somewhere.
Okay, from 9, let's say 8 to 5. Okay, I work with Pennsylvania Federal Credit Union. So I was a MSR, a member service rep, taking calls and helping member open checking account, saving account, and also applying for loans, and if they have issue with their benefit credit card or debit cards, we will help them. And so now I moved to another department, the accounting section. So now account payable. So we work on invoices and coding the invoices and putting all those data in the system so that the company and the managers, they can be able to have financial information that will help them take decisions concerning the company.
So that's your 9 to 5. In your introduction, you mentioned that you are a volunteer at Emmanuel Hospital.
Yes.
Why do you see the need to do that?
Okay, so I have a great passion in my heart for, to see people healthy, to see people strong, people being a blessing for their community. And one of the way is like in the healing, when it goes to the healing section, if you talk about hospital, you can see that it's a place. If people are there most of the time, is to take care of people who are there in a situation that need to be restored, they have to be restored. So this passion in my heart to see people restored, people healed, didn't let me remain in my in the banking system or even between the wall of the church, the building of the church, but to step out and go there and be at the side of those who are the patient, and then talk with them, share, pray with those who want to pray, and answer their spiritual question, and strengthen them psychologically and also spiritually.
So that impact on the community and that passion to see people healthy in the community, whether it's the physical health or the emotional health, that's your drive to be socially responsible. And thank you so much, Tinashe.
Somebody just said they couldn't see the panelists.
Oh, sorry about that. We are working on it. So Tinashe, how about you? The dream catcher, how does it impact the community?
So first of all, Bruno, that's really amazing that you're a volunteer. I think people like you are very rare, to be giving your time, and making sure that people are always investing back into, other individuals. It's very, very noble, and places like QLI benefit from volunteers like yourself. And so, thank you very much for everything that you do. As for Dreamcatcher, a passion for people development, I think when you're saying how does it benefit the community, I think, like I said earlier on, better businesses with good cultures, investing in their people equals better communities. Businesses and communities are interwoven. And so if we take care of our organizations, we will help the communities themselves. And if we try to separate the two, then it's a very, very maybe foolish thing to be looking at doing. I think we are one and the same, when it comes to our communities that we reside in. And so I think when it comes to investing in the people that work in our organizations and making sure that they're successful at work as well as in life, we have stronger, better organizations. And so Dreamcatcher is just that. It's pretty much a blueprint for organizations that believe that people are at the core of what they need to do, and they want to invest in them. That way, their mission is rich and met with people that are doing amazing things for them. So that is pretty much the premise of Dreamcatcher and how it helps organizations.
So this question goes to any of you. What are some of the ways entrepreneurs in our community or business owners in our community can be socially responsible? Is it through activities, the values, or what do you think?
How can businesses be more socially responsible? I think it's by, I know some there's a school of thought that people should be mandated to be socially responsible, and I'm against that school of thought. I think if you want to be a special business, you have to take it on yourself. I know a company that's headquartered in Lincoln, Nebraska, called Flywheel, and they are B Corp, and they have decided to do some things where environmentally sorry, I said flywheel. It's a fire. What's the name of Jay Wilkinson? Firespring.
Firespring. Okay.
Firespring in Lincoln, and they have done some really special things when it comes to making sure that as a B Corp, they're doing things environmentally, they're doing things fiscally, they're doing things for the community they reside in. They have hours and hundreds of hours that they have said that if you are going to work here, you're going to commit to the same values that we have. And so it's about setting up what your values are and pursuing your values and saying this is what we stand for. And so I don't think it should be mandated by anybody outside of the organizations, because people who are like Bruno will go and find those organizations and say, I want to work here because this is along my value sets.
That's very interesting because nowadays, especially, I'm not going to tease on the millennials, but it's often believed that when you take the millennials, for instance, when they go to an interview, they're the one interviewing the hiring manager. In this sense, they want to know what the company believes in. They want to know the company's values. And if that fits in the value or in the belief, that's when they decide to work for that company. And hear me well, they decide to work for that company. They can be offered a position, but at the end, it's the decision. And we've seen that a lot in today's world, where if the companies are not involved in the community, then it's not, it doesn't benefit that millennial. What do you think?
I think it's very interesting to have like a program, organization that looking into the activities of the companies to find if they have like a room for the people in the society, a room like, let's say, taking care of the people or taking care of the planet. See, so then if that way they can encourage many other company businesses to look into that section, to look into that side of the being social responsible. So I think if we encourage business owners to let's say to step out into the community and help, let's say the people who are challenged physically. PenFed, for example, they have a program. They will every quarter, I think so, they will step out and assist some organization on the marketplace, maybe people who are physically challenged, like military veteran, and they do that. And I think it's very important for the whole community, for everybody. If the planet is safe, if the community is safe, if the people are living in an environment that is clean, it's very help to sustain the development or to sustain every profit that the company are making. So if we are looking just in short term, we are looking for the interest of the shareholder only. We don't care about the people on the other side. I don't think that development can be sustainable if we have a short-term vision like this. So if we look at the people outside the company, the business boundaries, we can think about building doing a real impact on the community, real impact on the society.
And Omaha is doing really well because I've seen diaper drives. There are a lot of activities that organizations are involved in this Omaha community. What about the African diaspora? When it comes to African business owners, what are we doing? Sinesh? Or if you don't believe that we are doing enough, what are some of the suggestions that you might have? I know you said it shouldn't be a mandate, but I mean, give us your perspective.
Yeah, on what we can do as the African people, I believe when you're saying that you're seeing that this has been happening more, at least here in the United States, as African people, at least what I know of the people that I grew up around, there's an element of collectivism. You know, it's not individualistic societies, and that collectivism is something that we all grew up as one. You know, and I think that's the part that we cannot forget our roots and figure out what we can do. I think I've heard of so many people who are back home, and as much as I want to go back home, they say no, stay there and continue to bring up Africa. You know, continue to help support it. At least my area, you know, in Zimbabwe, they say stay there and work hard so that we can continue to do what we're looking at doing down here. And so I think from the diaspora perspective, we have to continue to remember where we came from. I think there's this idea of, it's an African saying, if you want to go faster, you go alone. If you want to go further, you go together. And so whatever businesses that we have, hopefully we're not just trying to just have a little short span where we're trying to get somewhere, point A to point B very quickly. Hopefully we're trying to build legacies for future generations. And so to do that, we need to come together and move together forward.
And Bruno, I know from doing a little bit of research on the panelists, both of you, that you're very involved when it comes to the community back home. Can you please tell us about it?
Yeah, so I have an organization called CFOMA, and CFOMA is, sending children to school and children back in Africa, Burkina Faso, the north part of Burkina. So actually we have like 14 children that we send to school, and there are some of them are in the primary school, others are in the secondary school. So I mean, a way to contribute to the development of our society and that. So yeah, for my 14 children.
How is that going?
Yeah, doing great. And actually, we're preparing the new year. Let's say in Burkina Faso in October or November, the school will start. So actually, we are in this process, and we're trying to see if we can add more children to that list. And but based on the budget that we have, very good.
Tinashe, do you want to add something?
I think it's a very amazing thing that you're doing. Education is something that is supposed to be a right, not a privilege. And so keep doing the hard work. I think from a Zimbabwean community, I think we always say we should be doing more together. Again, together we can achieve a lot more. And so whether it's, you know, people who have businesses back home that are supporting people, you know, back there, I know several people who are doing women's gardening, you know, to try and do a co-op. It's a very, very good program. My mother just retired from an orphanage that serves AIDS orphans. She was a nurse, and then she ended up going into that. And so it's called the Michael Project. It's in Zimbabwe. It's a near and dear project because of, again, my mother has been involved in that. And so I think as people, we have to continue to invest in our continent. We have a lot of resources back home, and we just have to continue to make sure that we do our part. I think to some degree we've been failed by leaders, but we cannot just continue to stand by and watch idly. We have to take a stand and continue to more or less do our part in spite of leaders who are not doing a good job.
Thank you for that. And it's soon to be back to school. We are seeing a lot of school supply drive in the Omaha Metro, and I encourage African entrepreneurs, business owners to get involved in all those activities. That way we will together, like Tinashe said, help our community and help Omaha be a better place and be actively involved in our community. That's also an area of being socially responsible. Tinashe, you mentioned B corporations. What is that concept, or what are they?
Like I said, a friend of mine, Jay Wilkinson, who's the CEO of FireSpring in Lincoln, and they have an office in Omaha. They have tenants that they have decided to take on to make sure that they're going to change the world. It's not mandated by them, by anyone to do this, but they have decided to become a benefit corp, which in fact, they have very little themselves that they have to get from being a B Corp, except for that drive was, we want to improve the environment, we want to improve the world. And there's actually a list of companies that are B Corps around the world. And so maybe one of the byproducts that they get is when people want companies that are responsible for the community and the world that we reside in, then you can go and search the list of B Corps and maybe patronize their businesses. And so there's companies that are doing an amazing job out there, for-profit companies. There was a conference not too long ago in Lincoln, Nebraska called Do More Good Conference, and it was around the same concept of just do good, you know, yeah.
That's very interesting. Thanks for sharing the knowledge with us. And Bruno, so you mentioned that whether it's through a company, an organization, or a church, so how are you involved in your church? Apparently, that's something that you're very involved in.
Yes. So, I mean, the church, the name is CFI, Crossroad Fellowship International Church. Beside being part of the worship team and being also a student at the Bible school, and also, the teaching, Sunday school teaching.
Beside all of that?
Beside that, yeah. We have CFI is involved in the community. We have, like I said, going to the hospital and visiting the people there. And during the Bellevue, there was CFI also had a volunteer who went to that place and then helped. There was a church on the Bellevue place there that we went to help the people there gather the things. So, and also we have some event outside to we invite people to come so we can fellowship together, share. So, this is a way also for the church to do what the Lord Jesus has said. Go out and take care of the people, share the word of God, the gospel, and feed them also, take care of them. So there is also a social part also that is involved in that activity. It's not only the spiritual, it's not only the soul, but there is also the physical part that we also need to look at. Yeah, so.
That's amazing. There are a lot of organizations that are being actively involved in this community, whether the churches, the big corporations. I know there are a lot of big corporations in this Omaha community that have this PTO or volunteer hours that are paid, available to the employees to take time off and be involved in the community. That's very good. We really encourage that, and we are thankful. And our African community, the diaspora, we encourage them to seek ways to also be involved in the community. And even by doing this, these companies, these businesses and entrepreneurs, it's sort of a marketing strategy. Your company's your company's name is known when you do that. When you have an event, you have all these banners that represent your company. Your company looks good. So it's very encouraging to know that in our Omaha community, we can still do that. And even being here in the US, we can help back home.
Yeah.
Tinashe, one last word.
A couple of last words. There's many ways of giving back, so if people are trying to figure out how do I do that, maybe through your church organizations. I belong to a Rotary Club, and that's an international organization. And one of the things that Rotary has been able to do around the world is eliminate polio, and that's a very debilitating disease. And it's because of people coming together and actually saying that we're going to work together. So if anybody's interested, they can look me up and they can come to one of my meetings. It's the Omaha Downtown Rotary Club. And the other thing is, if people are just wondering, okay, how do I get started into some of the things that I can do to benefit? QLI is a nonprofit, and we've benefited from people like Bruno who come in and volunteer, but also philanthropically, the Omaha community has given a lot to QLI, and we in turn have been good stewards. So if anybody's interested in what QLI is or what we can do, they should come and visit. Our campus is on 72nd and Sorensen. Look me up. I'll give them a tour if they're looking for employment. We have a lot of opportunities for a lot of people at all levels. We will bring in individuals and always looking at developing talent. And so, yeah, that's lots. Those are my last words.
Thank you so much. And Bruno?
What I would say is like, whether it's a company, a church, or big company or small companies, every one of us, we can contribute. Every one of us, we can do something to make our community stronger. Every one of us, we can do something to improve life around us. So I will invite each one of us to step out of our comfort zone, out of our places, and go and see and help people around us. So, and if I tied it to the church, Jesus make it clear. So go out, preach the word, and also heal the sick, and he himself feed people. So this is a good example for every one of us. So we can go beyond what we are doing and also step out and help people, other people also.
And even beyond the Christian community, I know there are other communities, not just the Christian community, that are actively involved in the community, in Omaha as well. Look them up. If you can find them, come to Business Sales, talk to me. Together, we'll find them. Thank you so much for watching today. Have a good evening. Bye-bye. Thanks, Inash, and thank you, Bruno.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.